There. Now we'll capture whatever we're going to talk about.
Okay.
You know, I actually started doing a morning show with my wife, Shelley. And I love doing it because some of it's so funny. We get into some hilarious kinds of things. And I bought her because she, for the longest time, made fun of my microphone. You know,
Why?
Mr.
Why?
Boom Arm. Because I love working with the audio equipment and everything. But she just made fun of it just because she could. Well, it turned around. I had a Behringer stage mic on a little prop for her. And she goes, "Oh no, if I'm going to do a show with you, I want a boom arm and a mic." All right, honey. So I bought her a USB mic. It does a really nice job.
Well, you know, the microphone that I had before this mic was, you know what? I'm hearing myself. I wonder if I could turn off on OBS. Where would that be? OBS audio. Where?
Monitor. If you right click on your audio,
Yeah.
go down to the bottom where it says advanced.
Hold on. Right click on the audio. Okay.
Go down to where it says advanced at the bottom.
Properties. No.
You know, where you see your voice meter going in OBS.
Yeah.
Right click on the voice meter.
Okay.
And down at the bottom, I think it says advanced.
No, all I see is rename filters and properties.
Properties.
There's nothing there. I need to turn off the
monitor.
The monitor, exactly right. Yeah. Audio mixer. I'm sorry to do this now to you.
You're fine, dude.
Lock volume. Why can't I find it? See, like headphones off. Oh, can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Okay, that was it. I don't know. I just clicked something and it fixed it.
There you go.
I used to remember. I used to know what I was clicking, Mike. Now I just click, and if it works, it works. I'm very happy. And you'll listen. Before, are we recording now at this point?
Yeah, but I'm. This is why I wanted to do a recorded show, so that I could trim the fuck out of whatever I needed to.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to, I just wanted to start off this interview by apologizing to your audience. See, this morning, my friend Matt was supposed to come to the house, and we were supposed to go to lunch together. Okay. And he was supposed to be at the house at 11 o'clock. He showed up at the house at 10:20. That's a big difference from 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever looked at a watch, but the minute has to go a long way before it goes to 11 o'clock, right? So shows it up at 10:20. I'm just getting out of the shower. I'm in a towel, right? So I go to the door in the towel, and I open the door. I'm like, "Hey, Matt, glad you're here. You're way early. I need to go finish up," right? So I go back. Now I got to shave I didn't even shave yet. So I put the shaving cream on. Now I'm nervous because Matt's here, right? And I made a little mistake with my goatee. I was in a hurry, and I went down with the razor a little bit too far. So there's almost no hair on my upper lip. Almost no hair here, and it's bothering me, Mike. It's bothering me. It's bothering me. It should bother you, but most important, it should bother your audience. And if I was a member of your audience and I was watching this video right now, I would go down to the comments and I would start complaining immediately. That's what I think they should do. I would tell them to thumb down the video, but you don't want to do that because that reflects negatively against Mike. But I do highly recommend that people go down and they complain about what's going on up here. It's ridiculous. I don't know. All right.
Okay. You talk about that. I try to shave now, and it's a challenge.
You try to shave? You would think at your age you'd get it right at this point.
Do you know, honest to God, thankfully it's all muscle memory at this point. Because
apparently mine's not.
I know where the razor should be. I can't see the sides of my fucking goatee.
Oh, you can't see?
No, I can't see the sides of my goatee, so I don't know if I've got a thick side and a thin side, or
Well, that's a good point too. Like I said, the last time I sat in this spot, I could see everything in front of me. Now I got my stream decks in front of me. I can't read a thing
nope.
that's on any of my stream decks. My keyboard is just a big blur. Actually, you're a bit of a blur too right now.
Yeah,
I go
I.
like this. Oh, hi, Mike.
Oh,
How are you?
hey,
Nice.
hi, Phil.
Hi. Happy to be here with you.
I'm glad that you took the time out to do this. I really appreciate it.
Well, you didn't get my bill yet, but go ahead.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be a big one in the mail. UPS has a 4,000-page document. Oh shit! I wanted to talk to you about all the pivot points that you've had. I will say career, but we're actually looking at like multiple careers that you've had. It's not just one. It's not like you've been an accountant all your life.
No.
So, in order to do that, I have to go all the way back to what I know is the beginning. And if there's more before that, let me know.
All right, where are we going? Let's see.
All
Let's see
the
if you
way
got it right.
back to you being a DJ. Was that the first one of a career, so to say?
Well, you can't call the DJ a career, right?
But you got
You-
paid
you-
for it.
yeah,
So
but I also
that's
got
a
paid
career.
for cutting deli meats,
Oh,
right?
really? So that
Oh,
was before
sure.
being a DJ.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh,
Oh
Lord.
no, my. I mean, look, Mike. I've been working since before it was legal for me to work. Right? I was working before I had working papers.
So that
That's
puts you at
just
like
something. That's just
14.
something that mom and dad instilled in me.
Yeah, I was the
Um,
same way.
yeah. So like my first job was it was actually the name of the place was Jack's Back. It was a restaurant in Garfield, New Jersey, and it was up on a hill. And I started out as a dishwasher there, and
Hmm.
then I ran tables, I did orders, I bus back, whatever, whatever. That was like my first job. My second job was in a deli, Paps Deli. What did I do there? I stocked, I cut cold cuts, cleaned the machines, you name it. I worked in a Blimpies sub shop, made sandwiches there. I worked. Oh, what was the other place? Jack's Back, the deli, Blimpies, like a bunch of places like that. And then eventually I worked into the DJing. So yeah, I would say that the DJing was definitely before, the engineering,
Yeah.
because I was DJing while I was in college. So yeah, but like always did something. Always did something.
Yeah, I knew that you were always on the go. And again, that's why part of why I wanted to talk to you about that, because culture today does
Different.
not does not have that mentality,
No, no.
you know?
I think I think everybody. Oh, I don't want to get into a whole political rant, right? I don't know who your target audience is, and I certainly don't want to piss half of them off. But I think there's a big problem in today's society. I think everybody's lazy.
Yeah.
I think everybody wants it handed to them. They want it as easily as they could possibly get it. I think the whole work mentality just doesn't exist anymore. Everybody wants to be an influencer. Everybody loves this whole YouTube thing, right? I mean, I have even like my nieces and my nephews and young friends in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
They see my YouTube plaque and they just go nuts over that. They're like, "Oh my God, how did you get that?" But they don't understand that even YouTube these days is a lot of work to actually get to the point in
Yeah.
YouTube where you're making, never mind crazy money. I'm talking about just livable money.
Yeah.
It's just content, constantly, constantly looking at numbers, looking at statistics, understanding algorithms. There's a lot involved, and just look, nothing comes easy unless you work really, really hard for it.
Yep.
And you know what? Some really, really good decisions and maybe some luck helps as well. Just like you were talking about pivot points.
Yep.
I think, some pivots I got extremely lucky several times, but also worked my ass off the entire time that I was, trying to achieve whatever it was that I was trying to achieve, and
Yeah.
also do everything for the right reasons,
That's the
right?
biggest part right there.
Yeah, yeah. I
It's
mean, there's a really important reason why I'm not involved in vape anymore. Yeah, maybe we could talk about that, but
Yeah, we're going to get to that because I'm
okay,
curious, and you may answer my questions, some of them, and you may not. And if you don't, just say we got to talk about that
sure,
some other time. But
sure.
I got to say, I agree with you about today's younger culture and things like that, with one really notable exception.
Mm-hmm.
My son Alex, he's 28, worked in a deli, slinging deli meat,
Mm-hmm.
put himself through truck driving school to get his CDL, went to work for FedEx, over the road, long haul, found that was not the life he wanted, went back to the same deli, continued working there until he could save up enough to stockpile a little bit of money, and then he put himself into electrician's school, trade school. And he graduates in like 6 weeks from trade school. And he already has a job in the field. And I've never in my life seen a younger person have that kind of drive. He said, "This
Yeah,
is what I'm going to do." And it's exactly what he did. And I'm like, holy shit, kid, good for you.
but I think there's an important reason there. Okay. First of all, when I say anything, there's always exceptions to the rules,
Sure.
right? There's and hopefully it's not even the rule. Hopefully it's all exceptions. But obviously there are kids that want there are parts of the next generation that do want to work hard. They
Yeah.
do want to achieve. They do want good things for themselves. But parents have a whole lot to do with it. Okay.
Trust
And
me, I know.
yeah, there you go.
I told him. He goes, "Well, I'd like to go to electrician school, to trade school." Talked with my wife about it, and we agreed. We said, "Son, you want to go to trade school? You're already here in the house. You go to trade school. We got you. No questions asked. We will take care of bills. We'll just go to school." He has not missed a day, even with the snow and the shit and the weather. He is running a 3.9 GPA. It was 4.0 until he got into PLC.
Fantastic.
PLC just screwed him up. He hates it, but the guy is just doing amazing. And I wish that I could see and find more people, younger people like that. I know they're out there just like you. It's not a rule
Of
of
course
thumb.
there.
It's not, you know, uh,
But like I said, parents have so much to do with it, and I love that he's in a trade school because I tell you what, Mike, if I were to do something today, it would probably be an electrician or a plumber,
mhm.
right? Or maybe a mechanic, right? Because I really feel that those jobs are there's going to be a lot of them. They're well-paying jobs, they're honest jobs, and they are jobs that are not going to be taken away by AI.
No,
Because I think a lot of jobs are going to be taken away by AI.
I would agree with you.
I think about some of the things that I did engineering wise, some of the things that I did voice wise, right? You try to get voice talent gigs, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Toughest
it's all going to
market to
go away.
break into.
What's that?
It's the toughest market to break
Well,
into.
it's a tough market to break into because everybody has a voice. Everybody thinks they can be a voice artist,
Yeah.
right? That's number one. Number two, 90% of your voice artists are going to be replaced by text to speech,
Yeah.
right? By computer voice.
Yep.
And computer voice nowadays, every now and then you hear like a mispronunciation of a word. You're like, oh yeah, that's a computer. But boy, if you don't hear that mispronunciation,
You don't know.
you really don't know
Yeah.
anymore. You don't know. I honestly believe that Hollywood has 5 years left,
Yeah, they're in deep shit.
if that, if
It I
that.
did speaking of that, I was watching on Facebook, you always have reels that come up, and
Yeah, yeah,
there was one that popped up. It was about Eddie Van Halen, and it was talking about a certain thing that he did in, a point in time. I really enjoyed listening to the narrator, and I'm like, "I'll be damned. There's something off with this." I couldn't put my finger on it. So I nailed down and I found out, who the channel was and all this, and I finally found out it's an AI voice narrator.
yeah,
And I'm like, "Shit, I actually enjoyed listening to this narration." I was
yeah.
amazed. It blew me away.
And you weren't even listening to a human being.
No.
Like so much of my career in telecommunications was recording a lot of speech, a lot of scripts, a lot of speech for automated telephony systems,
Yep.
right? As a matter of fact, now I'm into 3D printing, and back then we worked on a system called AABS. Okay, so it was the alternate automated billing service.
Oh god.
So now in 3D printing, we use ABS. Do you know how challenging it is not to put another A on ABS every time I say it's
I can
crazy. It
imagine.
was like it was like when I worked at a club called Club 210, and then I worked at a club called 2001. Oh, that was tough too.
Oh,
You know, when you get that like what you were talking about before, the when you're shaving
yeah.
and you have
It's muscle memory.
the muscle memory, exactly. Well, this is a big muscle too, right?
Yep.
And it's hard to when you're saying AABS your entire life. Well, now all of a sudden you have to say ABS. That's a challenge, Mike.
It is
That's
because you
especially
spent
for old guys like me.
dude, I think I'm older than you are.
Well, thank God somebody's young on this show.
You say club, a particular name for so many years or so many nights, and to have to switch,
Oh yeah,
you
especially
know?
when they're close.
That's a whole
Especially when they're
different
close.
story right there. If you're
Yeah.
closing a club, you're not all there anyhow. Well, let me go back because you
Sure.
started DJing and you were doing it more as a I hate the term. Honest to God, I hate the term a side hustle.
Side hustle.
You were doing it to,
Exactly
to
what it was.
earn income while you were going through college.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
then you progressed into playing clubs, right?
Hmm. Well, so when I lived in New Jersey, I had a little like a mobile service. So I was doing, like weddings and parties and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And um I did a couple of clubs in New Jersey, but then when I went to college, thank God, mom, dad, and Nana paid for my college tuition, but I always worked even when I was going to college. So and it was DJing, so that was my side hustle. I was doing um, Phi Sigma Kappa. I did fraternity parties. Those were some parties, and but it was I was like constantly looking for a club gig,
Right.
right? And it's like voice modeling, right? There's three jobs out there and there's 50 guys who want the job,
Yep.
right? So it was just a hustle, going to clubs. Hey, are you looking for anybody? Hey, you looking for anybody? um I'm from Jersey, right outside of New York City. I'm really good. So you got to sell yourself. Got the runaround from a lot of clubs. As a matter of fact, I'll tell this story. Um, there was a club there and it was called City Limits. And I walked in there looking for a DJ job. And I talked to the DJ at the booth. And he said, "No, we don't have anything here, but there's a club called the Half Dollar that's looking for somebody. Well, you should go there." So I'm like, "Oh, cool, the Half Dollar." Now I don't know anything about Rochester, New York at this point, right? So I go to the Half Dollar. I walk in there. I think it's a gay bar because there's all guys in this place, All right. I'm like, oh, this mother, he sent me to a gay bar. It's a strip club. Turns out it's a strip club.
Oh, God.
And he sent me there as a joke. Right. So, haha, very funny. I wound up getting him back several years later because I had the DJ gig in the premier club in Rochester, New York, and he came to the DJ booth looking for a job several years later on. And I was like, oh, no, sorry, we don't have anything for you.
Yep.
But no, I wound up getting a job at a place called Green Streets. That was my first DJ gig in Rochester, New York. And I played my first night and they hated me.
Really?
They hated me. They were complaining to management, they were complaining to the bartenders. They hated everything that I was doing, everything that I was playing. It was not good. As a matter of fact, at the end of the night, this was, you want to talk about pivot? You want to talk about somebody who just believed in you, right? At the end of the night, I went up to the manager. His name was David Alcahar. And I said, David, I said, I am so sorry. I said, you don't even have to pay me for tonight. I said, I will never come back. I said, I said, I know it was horrible. It was horrible. He looked at me and he said, you are the best DJ that I have ever heard. He goes, you just don't know the music in the area. He goes, you'll get it. And he
Wow.
kept me. And that was it. That was it. I was at that club for years. It was a small, like little kind of a bar. They were known for their wings. Wings are
Mhm.
really big in Rochester. And they had a tiny little dance floor, like no lights, just a couple of lights, no big deal. Um, but I was there for a lot of years and there was a shooting at the club. Um, one of the patrons got shot. Um, one of the security guards got shot. There was a scuffle at the front of the club. One of the David Alcahar, the manager, got shot.
Oh,
And I heard what sounded like just like firecrackers going off in the front of the club. And you know how like when I was playing a song by MC Hammer. I don't remember the name of the song. It wasn't "You Can't Touch This." And you know how like and my girlfriend was working at the club at the time. You know how like everything just goes in slow motion,
yep.
right? And you're in a situation that you've never been in before and you don't know what to do, right? Eventually my mind clicks because I see people running. I see like a floor of people. Everybody's just on the floor. Everybody hit the deck, people screaming. And I'm like, even though I know what's going on, should you shut the music down or leave the music on? Should you turn the lights on or leave the lights off? And then finally, reality, like, oh my God, yeah, turn the music off, turn the lights on. What are you doing? Right? Go find your girlfriend. And that's what I did. I shut everything down, turned the lights on, ran out of the DJ booth, literally stepping on bodies, trying to find my girlfriend at the time. Found her, she was fine.
Wow.
Because of that shooting, the owner of that club was opening up another club in Rochester called the Ocean Club. This was going to be the premier club in Rochester, right? So this place was gorgeous. Everything was custom built from the tabletops to the matchbooks to like just everything done to perfection. State of the art lighting for in its time, right?
Mhm.
All the amps were stored upstairs in a special climate controlled room. I mean,
Oh,
it
wow.
was probably one of the most well done clubs, not just the club that was like kind of thrown together,
Yeah.
everything was done right. And the owner told me, they said, this club is probably not going to last because of the shooting. I guarantee you, you will have a job at the Ocean Club. Wound up getting a job at the Ocean Club when it opened and then became the premier DJ there. And then it just led to more and more clubs in the city. But yeah,
Wow.
I was doing all of that while I was going to college. So the hours were just ridiculous. I mean, I was DJing like 4 nights a week to, like Green Streets was a Tuesday. Sometimes I would do Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. Sometimes I would do 3 nights and do a fraternity party. Sometimes I was doing 4 nights a week. So that's, you're working till 2 o'clock in the morning. You're getting home. By the time you get to bed, you're like 3, 4, by the time it's
Yep.
all over and done with. And you still have to study and maintain a good GPA, right? So I have burned the candle at both ends from then, with like just ridiculous hours, because DJing, if you don't care about it, it's just you buy the music, you bring it to the club, you play it, you go home. If you
Yeah.
do care about it, you research the music, you put your sets together. And then as I got more technical into DJing, I wanted to be the first DJ in the city that beat mixed video, right?
Oh,
I wanted to be the first one, right? And I was the first one. But to do that, now you have, you got your 12-inch remixes of the songs,
yep.
but the videos only come as the radio version, right?
Yeah.
So now you have to take this video that's a radio version, and you have to stretch it out and lay it on top of the 12-inch mixed version of it, right?
Yep.
So that's where all of the video editing came from, that like I later on used in doing the reviews for vaping. But I mean, that you're talking about hours just to do like one video.
Yeah. People don't know.
And
It's a three
oh,
to
it's a
at
lot.
least 3 to 1 or 4 to 1 ratio. If you've
Yes.
got an hour worth of video, you've got 4 hours worth of editing into that 1 hour video.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that's
Especially, I
if
mean,
you're
you had no
good.
AI tools. You're laying everything manual, right?
Yep.
And then if the beats don't match perfectly on the 12-inch compared to the video, then you have to time stretch the video to make sure that it lays down on the beats the right way. So yeah, it was like I said, if you cared about what you were doing, and especially if you were trying to do something different, that took a lot of time. Now, before that, I was bringing a sampler to the Ocean Club. My friend Steve got me into that. We used to take samplers, keyboards, right, and load up the keyboards with remixed versions of the popular songs, right? So we would play the record, and then we would mix into the keyboard and play a bunch of keys on the keyboard that had like a remix version of the song. This is before, like, this is like back when we were doing like custom remixes, right? And then we would have to go from the keyboard back into the mix back into the record. So what I had a speed stick, the speed stick, the Old Spice speed stick that fit perfectly on the key. So once I was finished doing the remix, I would take the speed stick, put it on the beat key, so the beat would just keep playing over and over and over again, and then mix back into the record. So yeah, it was
Oh,
I was a master of my craft back then. But now, DJs have that sync button,
yeah.
so they don't. There's not a whole lot of. I look.
I
It's a
know
different kind of talent. It's a
exactly.
different kind of DJing. So
You had sent me and allowed me to copy a lot of your work that you had done as a DJ. And there was one that you had labeled, I'm Still Here with Full Drops.
oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I know exactly in that song where you are talking about having to come back and to where you were sampling. Because back then, sampling was unknown, really.
Oh, completely unknown. That's
You
what I'm
know?
saying. Like now, all of that stuff is built into the console, right? You see
Yep.
all those pretty colored buttons that DJs are hitting when they're pushing. All right, that it's all built in there. It's much easier to access, much easier to program, much easier. I mean, we're using giant keyboards at that point to do back then what they're doing today with things that are made to do that,
I
right?
remember the first time that I listened to this one, and I got in touch with you and I said, "Dude, that is phenomenal." And you were
Yeah,
surprised
yeah.
that I knew what I was talking about, but
You did. You were catching things in the mix that I was doing that I was like really
yes.
surprised you caught.
And it was I just sat here with my chin on the desk going, "Holy shit." To do what you were doing back then
Yeah.
was just amazing,
And we were
just
doing it, we were doing it live
amazing.
too. Live.
Man, no
You
safety
you
net,
hit
no
you
nothing.
hit one wrong button and
It all
don't
goes to
sound
hell.
very good. Yeah. Yeah. So, I was doing a lot of a lot of DJing, and then going to college at the same time, maintaining the grade point average. And then I got the opportunity to I had my associate's degree at that point. I got the opportunity to go on a co-op for a company called CCI Unless did you have questions? Did you want to lead me
Oh,
into this?
as you go along, you're answering a lot of what I was going to ask anyhow.
All right,
So,
perfect. So I got a co-op at a company called CCI Computer Consoles Incorporated, and they were doing something that was like right up my alley. They were doing speech recognition. Okay. Now, you think about speech recognition today, you think about Google or, you know, Amazon and that word. I don't want to call out the words because everybody who's watching this is going to, their boxes are going to beep and they're going to blame me for,
yeah.
that happening. Um, but back then it was yes and no. That was it. And even yes and no was a pain
Iffy.
in the ass to get right.
Yep.
Right. And I was on the ground floor for doing yes no speech recognition. It was basically my job to create the grammars and tune the grammars and collect thousands of audio samples to build the grammars, just to get speech recognition to do yes no for what I was talking about, AABS, automated alternate billing services. So that's the automated part, right? It was,
Wow.
instead of an operator asking you, do you want to accept this call? It was a computer asking you, do you want to accept this call? So, in a way, um, I have been involved not only with speech recognition from day one, but also AI from day one. And I can get into that a little bit more too,
What?
because we were doing something called, as the grammars got, more involved than just yes and no, as they grew, as they became more complex, as we started doing cities and states and locations and things like that.
Hmm.
We used something called hidden Markov models to train the grammars. So now the grammars aren't only trained on speech, they aren't not only trained on the voice, right? The audio samples, but now they're trained on data, right? So where did the call come in from? What time was the call? Is this the first line, the second line? So we basically, every bit of data that we could collect on the call, we would collect, and then we would create a statistical model, right, as to what the probability was that that person said New Jersey. So we sent it to SpeechRec. SpeechRec said, maybe they said New Jersey. I'm really not sure. But then we used all the other data that came along with that call, and statistically, we could say, based on everything else that we've captured, that person said New Jersey, right? So that's kind of how AI works. Really, AI is just a search model. It's
Yeah.
just an incredibly complex, right? Incredibly well trained search model. It's a statistical search model that when you say something, it says, okay, I've got all this data and I'm going to compact it and smush it down and give it back to you in a way that I think is going to respond to what you just said.
Based
So
on
really,
probability.
yeah, it's all based on probabilities and statistics.
Yep.
So it's really interesting when I look back, like all the way back in what I was doing. It's like the groundwork for where we are today. It's much simpler. What I was doing was much simpler. Could I take what I know, my knowledge of that, and go into like today's no, not even close.
Mhm.
It's like a candle compared to a rocket ship. Much different. But yeah, so that's what I was doing that. A lot of tech papers, a lot of procedural manuals, a lot of installation manuals, because we did, those grammars had to get installed somehow. So I would write the manuals for the customers to take the grammars and load them on their systems. Um, was doing a lot of like the recordings for those telephone systems. I was doing the voice modeling. I was the voice of it was called Ad Pays 411. I think Bell South had it. Um, Whereas instead of you paying for 411, right? You remember what 411 was,
I
right?
do.
Information. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Um, these ads would pay for it. So you would dial 411 and you would ask for something, but you would hear an ad, right? And I
Sure.
was the voice of all those ads. And
Oh, wow.
man, I would just sit in a room and just record, like, to the point where I had to learn from the voice talents that I was working with how to keep the voice going and not like just run out of voice, just you can't talk anymore. They would teach you the lemon and the honey and all this other stuff, and
Yep.
how you would have to take breaks and drink a lot, because it was just so much. And I was the only one doing it, so I was doing all the recordings, all the editing, packaging everything, installing everything.
Oh, good
um,
God.
yeah, but it was a great experience, and I was very, very lucky because that co-op turned into a full-time job. um, Everybody at the company, they loved what I was doing. They loved working with me. They saw that, I was no nonsense, get the job done kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I wound up getting a full-time job there, and I had to leave college to do that.
Oh,
And, there was always the opportunity where they would pay, to finish my degrees. And when I looked at the starting salary for back then, I'd be like, I would just be stupid not to take this, right? Just
yep.
it would be, especially living in, Rochester, New York, because the cost of living wasn't all that high there. So yeah, I took it. And it was funny. This is before I took the job. Do you know I had a boat in Rochester while I was going to college? I was able to buy myself a boat. So not only did I have a car, a lot of people when they go to college, they don't even have a car. I had
No.
a car and a boat because of the money that I was making from DJing and being able to pay like my boarding. Mom, dad, and Nana were still paying the tuition and everything, but I was paying board, paying food.
Right.
Then eventually I got an apartment. I was paying for the apartment. But man, I wanted a boat because I grew up around boats and water in New Jersey, and I did. I bought myself a boat. It was a Nissan. Did you know Nissan made boats and made
No.
engines for about this long? Yeah, I had it at a lake called Honey Oil Lake. That was the first of a bunch of boats, and yeah, so that I had a boat while I was working, going to college, and DJing.
When the hell did you find time to ride your boat?
Yeah, you know what? Okay, I find it so interesting that you say that. As you get older, things change.
Oh,
Obviously, a
yeah.
lot of things change, right? But I noticed time changes.
Mm-hmm.
There's less, even though it's the same amount of time, there's less time in the day as you get older. I
Yeah.
don't know where my time went, but when I look back and I think back of all the shit that I was able to do in a day back then, I don't know how I would be able to do that today. I just don't know how. I don't it was just discipline. It was like really just doing nothing else but getting the music ready or doing the video or working at the job or working late or and now forget it.
Yeah.
Like now, if I have to do laundry, I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do the laundry? How am I going to do laundry and cook my dinner? I'm either going to have dirty clothes or I'm not going to eat. A good one of them's got to give. I can't do both. That's ridiculous. Right? Crazy.
What did you segue from at that job? What was your job after that? And for people that are playing the home game and listening, this is like the fourth or fifth job now.
Well, no, I was I can't tell you how long I was because I'm horrible at dates. Horrible, horrible, horrible at dates. Horrible at dates, horrible at names, horrible at remembering things. Um, but I was at CCI for a long time, Mike.
Were you?
Um, so oh God, yeah. So I mean, CCI became Northern Telecom.
Right.
Northern Telecom became Nortel.
Nortel was
The
big.
the upper management at Nortel were a bunch of dimwits and drove the company into the ground because
Yeah.
they didn't understand the direction of the business. Um, wow.
Yeah.
And we were so successful. It was such a wonderful company to
Nortel
work
was
for. I
huge.
I saw, yeah. And then we got bought out by Volt Delta and STC, and like it was just like it was so many companies, Mike. But I was always at the same building. I was always doing the same job. Obviously, different jobs, as the years progressed.
Mhm.
But I watched so many good people get let go around me, so many layoffs. And then you're always like panicking. Am I the next person? Am I the next person?
Yep.
Um, so, going through that, and then all of a sudden didn't want to DJ anymore. There was, DJing was always something where it's like, oh my God, yeah, it's the weekend, I get to DJ. And then I'll never forget, I was in the Home Depot parking lot. I was DJing at a club called Tribeca. Maurizio was the owner of the place. And it wasn't, oh yeah, it's the weekend. I'm going to DJ. It was like, shit, it's the weekend. I have to DJ. Big
Whoa.
difference. As soon as I heard myself say that, I called him up from the Home Depot parking lot. I'm like, Mauricio, I quit. He's like, what do you mean you quit? I said, I can't do it anymore. I said, you got to find somebody else to get this weekend. I said, I just don't want to do it anymore because it was something that I loved, Mike. I loved it so much. And as soon as my passion became a job, I didn't want to do it anymore. I was done.
I've been there, done
Um,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And dude,
And
I've gotta say it again. You were so damn good as a DJ.
oh, thank you. You know,
I listened to all of the mixes, and there was a pile of them that you had let me copy, and I listened to them, and just the work that you did,
well, I
knowing what was the limitations back then and
yeah,
listening sonically to what was going on and hearing all of this, I just
yeah.
sat there and went, "That should have been a guy that went all the way to the top of the mountain." He
Like,
should have been up there with David Guetta, you
yeah,
know?
well, wouldn't that have been a trip? I think, look, I think I'm just as good as them technically. Creatively is the word
There
I'm
you
looking
go.
for. No, I mean, because those guys are producing their own music. I have produced a couple of my own tracks. I mean, they're more joke tracks than anything else. And usually extremely dirty, not something that you could play, not something that mom can hear, right? Um, but no, because I always knew that it was a great side hustle, like you said. It was a hobby, is what I like to call it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't my career. Career was engineering. I always knew that. Always had my head screwed on straight, so I knew where my career was. But like I said, when that was over, I was like transitioning into vaping.
Now,
Right. That's
before
kind of
you
like
go that far,
yeah, 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 yeah.
you went from, "I quit," and you were still doing your engineering job. When you said, "I quit," did that, like, slam the book shut on DJing? Like, did you just turn the light switch off?
Kinda, yeah. That's my MO though. I mean, that's kind of like, what happened with vaping in a way, really. Like you think about it. I mean, yeah, I like when it came to reviews, all of a sudden I just wasn't there anymore, right?
Yeah.
Um,
You had a lot of stuff going on, though, at
it
that
really
point in
was
time.
like I did a guest spot once. Actually, I think that I DJ'd after I quit doing the clubs. The next time I DJ'd was probably for a vape event just as a favor, right? They're like, "Oh, we want, because you're the big reviewer and you were a DJ, we want you to DJ the event."
DJ
Okay.
Miami.
Yeah. So I did the event, but like really outside of that, no. As a matter of fact, my friend Chris owned a music store here, actually a music shipping. He's like a guitar center, owns like a type of a
Mhm.
guitar center type place. And he borrowed my rig years ago, right? To do because he needed a DJ rig for something that he was doing at the warehouse. So I'm like, yeah, take it. And like I never asked for it back. So he wound up closing the warehouse, and he goes, we got your DJ rig here. He goes, do you want it? I'm like, yeah, I guess so. So I got it. And it has the laptop, it has all my software, it's got my my control deck and everything. And just opening up the laptop, I mean, this laptop is like from the 80s. It's like a 286, right? It took literally like 5 hours to get it to update to a point where it would even like, I could
Run.
actually type on it. So and I look at it and I was like, man, break it out, throw your headphones on, see if you can hit a beat, see if you can hit a mix, like right off the bat, like for, just see if you still got it. I will eventually, I will, but
Do you miss
no,
it?
no interest. You know why, Mike? Because I achieved what I set out to do and
You hit your
achieved
pinnacle.
well beyond my expectations, right?
Yep.
Did I ever think that I was going to be DJing at the number one clubs in Rochester? No. Not that Rochester, New York is like, it's not like New York City, okay? But still, it's still a city and there were still clubs, right?
Yep.
So, did I ever think that I was going to No. Did I ever think that I would be in demand? No. Did I ever think that I would see my name in print? No. Did I ever think I would turn on the radio and hear every commercial, DJ Miami's at this club. You got to come out. You're the number one DJ in Rochester, blah, blah, blah. No, I never thought that would happen. Did I ever think, because this was my dream when I was growing up, I would hear the DJs in New York City and they would broadcast them live, what they were doing in the DJ booth over the radio. Oh
Oh,
my God, that was my dream for that to happen. And it did. It was
wow.
about we did it for like a whole summer at I can't think if it was Pulse or Tremors. I think it was Pulse, where 98 PXY would plug into the DJ booth and everything that I was doing in the would go out over the air, right? And they even let me talk, right? So,
Oh,
it would be
that's
like
rare.
their DJs would be on their mics and they'd be like, "Hey Miami, how you doing?" Blah blah blah. So they knew that I was really good on the mic, right? They knew that I was really, really professional sounding until I started drinking, which is probably one of the reasons, why the show got pulled, right? But it was good. It worked really, really well. So yeah, that was like I achieved that. I achieved the first DJ in the city, mixing video live, beat mixing video live. So yeah,
It's
you get
that's
to that point where there's no place really left to go in the city
like you
without trying
said,
to break out of the city.
you
And I had
accomplished
my
what you
fun with it.
wanted,
Yeah.
and
And
you're like,
to this,
okay, I've
yeah,
gotten everything done that I set out to do.
yeah.
It's not
And
that there's
for
nothing
me,
left. It's just you have achieved your own
right.
personal
I
list of
achieved it.
goals.
Right. And for me, I always did it for I did it for the love of music. And I know you do some spiritual shows and like you do some other shows, right? But it was almost a religion for me
Yep.
being in that booth, right?
Yep.
Because there were three kinds of nights. There was the night where I left exhausted and everybody had a great time, right? That was the crowd had no energy. I had to give everything in my being to have show them a good time.
Yep.
Whether it was things I was saying on the mic, whether it was things I was doing on the decks, whether it was the music that I was playing, just playing it just the right way. I had to give them all my energy, right? Still a great night. Everybody has a good time.
Yep.
Then there's the nights that there's nothing I could do right,
No.
right? But they're still gonna have a good time. But there's those nights where, man, you're just feeding off of each other. The crowd brought their energy, you
Yep.
brought your energy, and it's like you see like DJs when they have like much different scenario. Like I never DJ'd in front of like 10,000 people, maybe 1,000 was my tops, right? But where they're doing that thing with their hands and like everybody's man, there is an energy that's going back and forth between the DJ and the crowd. And unless you experience it yourself,
You
you,
just
you
don't
don't
know.
know. You don't know what it is. You
No.
just don't know. So you just have to take my word for it that I
It
truly
leaves
believe in
you
that.
on an absolute high,
Incredible high, incredible.
and
Like at
at
the end
the
of the
end of
night,
the
I would
night,
always
you are completely wiped out.
completely wiped out. But if it's that energy night, then I leave with more energy than I came with. But there's those nights where they don't have their own energy, so you got to transfer yours to
Yep.
them. Then you leave exhausted, right?
Yeah.
But man, like I used to end my night, like I'll play a fun sing along, right? And like I used to play Bismarcky, You're Just a Friend, and everybody would sing it, and like everybody have a good time. And then I would end every one of my nights. Why? I don't know. I would play the theme to Superman as people were leaving.
Yeah,
Because it's
that's
just
your
like,
thing.
yeah, John Williams, man, ain't nobody better.
No.
Ain't nobody better than John Williams.
Do you
I'm gonna be
know
so
he
disappointed.
scored Steven Spielberg's newest movie,
Did he? Because
Disclosure Day?
he was supposed to be done with
He
after.
he retired, and Steven Spielberg went to him and said, "Johnny, please score this movie." And John Williams scored the movie
God
and
bless him.
and
There
conducted it.
there will never be another John Williams as long
No,
as we live. I don't care what other composer you call out. He's not as good as John Williams. That man's music has touched more people through movies than anybody else's music ever will.
94
Brilliant,
years old.
brilliant man.
94
Brilliant man.
years old, he scored it and composed it.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
That's
at
unbelievable.
94. And
Yep.
Spielberg is talking to him about the next movie, and John Williams is thinking about it. He said, "We'll see." But yeah, he
You know what?
did
Because
the
it's
music.
in his blood. He still loves it. That's
Oh,
the thing. He still loves it. Yeah.
so you went and you were, after you left DJing and you were still an engineer,
Mhm.
that's when you bumped into the vaping world.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
again, for people playing the home game, keep track, because we're starting to pile jobs on top of one another. And these are not minor changes,
No, this one is a big one coming up.
but
Yeah,
they're
this is the big
all
one.
the one, everything that you've said so far has been a major pivot. They're not small. You're
No,
not
not
going from
necessarily.
like,
I disagree with you. I disagree with you. The big pivot is coming up. These were things that I could do at the same time.
okay, but
Now we have something.
let's go back
Yeah.
and recap just real quick.
Okay.
Slinging deli meat, right?
Yeah, but those are
Hold on. Then you
Yeah.
were a DJ.
yeah.
Those are not similar jobs, Phil.
But
Let's
that's
see.
not
I
true.
got a pound of salami and
Bologna
I've
is
got some
round.
hardcore 120 beat music. No, I'm sorry. Those are not
No,
similar.
they're exactly alike. Have you ever seen a slice of bologna? It's round just like a record. They're very similar. Mike. Come on.
But then to go from DJing
Yeah.
to an engineer's job, again, we are talking a massive dissimilarity. You might sit there and go, well, they're similar. No, I can tell you hands down. I've known engineers and I know DJs no. And now you're talking about going from engineering to vaping. And that is another huge, huge change. There is no similarity.
Sure there is.
To you, there is.
Absolutely.
Okay, to you, there is.
Absolutely.
But to the vaping world in general,
it's why I was so successful at it.
I
Exactly
love
why I was so
I
successful.
love my Chroma Z.
know-
And we're going to talk about this, but just to let
Yeah.
people know,
Sure.
Phil and Dimitri created the Chroma Z along with other platform series products.
Mhm.
But you have helped more people stop smoking
That's what I
than
want to be known for.
anybody that
That's
I
what I-
know.
That's what I want to be known for. That's what I want to be known for, and it's why I don't want to do it anymore. Unfortunately,
But
Mike.
you went to France.
Mhm.
France of all places. Granted, you wound up in the hospital when you were in France, but you were in France. And there are people walking down the street carrying your product, what you created.
Yeah.
And now, I'll tell you, hands down, Shelley and I both quit because of the Chroma Z. Nothing else had touched us. Nothing else. We picked up a couple of these. I got her a few. I got myself a few. And it made it simple and it made it easy to quit smoking. And
Yeah.
for that, I will ever be thankful. But we still have them. We still have them. She still vapes on hers constantly.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, and that's what I wanted to be known for. Like, I wanted to be known for all the right reasons in the industry. I wanted to be known for integrity. I wanted to be known for helping people quit smoking. I wanted to be known for providing good information through the reviews. Um,
Okay, so
and
let's
just, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
how
How
did
did,
you
how did we get
go
there?
from an engineer into vaping? And this is a big one to me, where did your famous partner in crime come into all of that?
Why do we have to talk about him? Isn't the show devoted to me? I
No.
mean, do we need to talk? Why don't you do your show with him, for God's sake? Always about Dimitri. Um,
Oh,
we'll get to him. So here's the thing: knowing what you know about me now,
yes.
how it was all that time DJing, all that time with the engineering job, time. DJing goes away. What am I going to do at that time? I got time. What am I going to do at this time? I have a lot of time. That's number one. Number two, I'm not entertaining anybody anymore, right? Entertaining
Oh,
people, making people smile, um, showing people a good time. That's in my blood, right? I don't have that
yeah.
anymore. Okay. So there's those two. Keep in mind that, right? Now, I run into vaping. Vaping is a technology product, right? I'm a technology guy.
Yes, you
So
are.
this fascinates me now, right? This fascinates me. Not to mention that, don't forget, I got my father in my ear. When are you going to quit smoking? 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 Right? Because I was a pack and a half day smoker,
Yep.
DJing back then when you could smoke
Smoke
in the
in the
DJ booth,
booth.
even though I
Yeah.
was smoking in the DJ booth anyway. Um, Not a pack. You're talking about two packs, because back then they didn't have the cigarettes to put themselves out.
No.
Remember that, right?
Those
So you
those were
light
the
it, you take a
worst
puff, you
things.
take a two puff, you take three puffs, you put it down, you look down, and there's an ash this long,
Yep.
right?
And
So,
it's out.
smoking like you would not believe, Mike, in the DJ booth. It was just like I was DJing, I had to be smoking. I was DJing, I had to be smoking. To the point where the next day, and I always said this, you take that first deep breath of the day and you can't even get it in because it hurts so bad,
And you're
right?
hacking.
Because yeah, the hacking and everything. Yeah. So, I mean, I knew I had to quit. So I started doing research, which was very little back then, on these things called electronic cigarettes, because what I wanted to know was that if smoking was going to kill me in 10 years, that vaping wasn't going to kill me in 1 year, right? Who
Right.
knew? Who knew? And the little bit of research that I was able to pick up on back then, everything pointed me to, yeah, it's better for you than smoking. Like, how much better? Then we didn't know. We had no idea. So I started, and boy, Mike, back then, because I quit, was it 97? What was the year? Or 2007? I think it was 2007, because it's on my webpage. Yeah,
Yeah.
2007. Um, July 7th, 2009. There you go. Now I got the date. So that was my quit date. And if you quit then and went from smoking to no more smoking, none, completely to vaping, am I allowed to curse on the show?
Yep.
You were a dedicated motherfucker.
Wow.
You were dedicated to it, because back then the equipment was not good. The equipment was not good. The
No.
liquids were not good. The experience was not good. It was fiddly. How many times did you hear the word fiddly in the reviews back then, right? Um, and it just got better and better and better and better. But back then, I would watch, reviewers, Nick Grim Green, still
Hmm.
doing it. God bless him, right? And a couple of the other reviewers, and I was like, hey, you know what? I can do that. Or I'm an entertainer. I could do that. So I started, doing some of the reviews on YouTube, and I was so bad at it, Mike. If you went back and watched one of my first videos, you'd be
I
like,
did.
that dude sucks. He's horrible.
I
I would never look at the camera. I always look down. I couldn't get my words out. And then, after a while, you just get used to it. You build a rapport with the camera, because
Yep.
you're talking to that thing just hours and hours and hours on end. It
Yep.
becomes like your friend that you're talking to. So you
Sure.
you get so used to looking into that lens all the time. And that was something that I learned. This is something that I learned back in DJing. And believe it or not, Howard Stern taught me this, because I was a huge Howard Stern fan. I don't know what the hell happened to him. He like went weird on everybody. But anyway, he taught me how to talk to people through the microphone, not talk at people
Yes.
into the microphone,
It's a
right?
huge difference.
And two completely different things, right?
Yep.
And that's why I was so good on the microphone in the clubs, because I was talking to people. We were hanging out. I was just telling you about my day on the microphone. There just happened to be a microphone and 100,000-watt sound system that would boom my mic out to everybody, right? And it wasn't like, hey, at the bar right now, we have 50-cent shots. No, that wasn't it. It was just, how can you talk naturally to people? And I don't want to say the word touch them, but you know what I mean, right?
Sure. To make that connection.
You're trying to reach them.
Yeah.
And I took that from DJing into the reviews. So I took the entertaining and the fun side of Phil Busardo from DJing into the reviews. And then I took the engineering side of Phil Busardo from the engineer into the reviews, because I was one of the first DJs out there that got really technical with these things, right? When China said that this is a 30-watt device, and I hooked it up and I said, no, it's not. I like to think that I was part of the early reason why all of the devices got better,
Yeah.
because China could no longer say that this is what this device does. Now you got somebody out there saying, no, that's not what it's doing.
No, it's
Right.
12 watts.
And you had somebody who wasn't afraid to say that either. That's
See,
another
and
reason
that's what differentiated my understanding, the way that I see things now and then. It's what differentiated you from so many other people, because the other reviewers were dependent, or they had a mild contract
on the
with
free stuff.
some of the vape companies that they were reviewing. So they would get a kickback, however you'd want to phrase it, or they didn't want to alienate the vaping company, because then they wouldn't have anything to review.
Yeah.
You came
Well,
on the scene and you went, hey, here's exactly what the hell is going on with this device right here. Let me show you.
yeah. And if you can do that, right? If you could do that with data, it's not subjective anymore.
Exactly.
Now it's real. Now it's science.
Yep.
Right. It's not me just saying, well, I don't like this, because I don't like the way it vapes. No, I'm telling you, I don't like the way it vapes because I have it set for 15 watts and it's only delivering 12. And here's the data. Here's the scope data to prove it. Right. That was the difference between me and a lot of the other reviewers out there.
Yeah. And it made a huge difference, because people were paying attention.
Yeah.
They were done listening to the, try this because it really works well and it hits great and it's got a good throat hit and I love this thing. Here's Phil going, look, this item will work if you do this, this, and this. And here's why.
And why. Right. And that's important. And I think that takes a lot of pressure off of you as a reviewer too. Right. Because now it's not all just subjective, and it's not just like your opinion on how you feel about it.
Mhm.
Now it's like, it's a chart. I mean, I was known for my charts and graphs. Like I used to get, Dimitri used to make fun of me all the time for all my charts and graphs. I was the chart and graph guy in the vaping industry. Right. But they told the story. They told the real story that I couldn't tell in words.
Sure.
Right. Because when you put something in a chart, and if you put something in a graph and you say, this is what it's supposed to do, this bar right here, this is what it's supposed to do. But look at this bar. This is what it's really doing. See the difference? Now you can visualize the difference, right?
Yep.
And I tried to do that. I tried to do that with all the reviews, but I tried to make them entertaining. And I think that was so important. Whether I was wearing a stupid costume or doing something dumb or driving around in a golf cart or videotaping me underwater in a swimming pool. Like, it was all that stuff. And I always said that if you're having a good time and you're learning at the same time, then you don't know you're learning, and you learn a whole lot better. That's why teachers that blow shit up in front of the classroom, right, are gonna reach those kids so much better than a teacher that goes up and just draws on the chalkboard or the whiteboard all day
Yep.
long, who's monotone and doesn't really know how to teach,
Let
right?
me tell
That
you about the ABCs of vaping.
ain't gonna learn
No.
anything.
Yeah.
Sorry, no. You gotta be engaging. You gotta be engaging, and that's what I tried to do. I tried to be as engaging as possible, and just try to put a whole lot of good information out there.
And you succeeded at it massively.
Listen, I never in a million years would have thought that doing those silly vaping reviews was going to lead to what it led to. Never in a million years, right? Because again, that's not DJing. I set out to be the best DJ in the city. There were goals that I wanted. Did I have a feeling that the vaping reviews could lead to something? Yeah, of course. Of course I did. Um,
There's always a hope and dream. Maybe this will lead to something.
yeah, absolutely. But at the beginning, I wasn't afraid to tell the truth about products. And by the way, telling the truth about products definitely affects the products you get on the next round,
It does.
right?
Hey,
Because
you
there were a
went
lot of
from, oh, yeah, here's Phil. We're going to send him 10 different things.
yep,
And you review them honestly.
yep,
And the next time you get a box, you
yep,
have 3.
yeah. They
And
don't want
that's it.
honest. No, or you get nothing from that company anymore.
And that's
I mean,
why,
there's at least two companies that I could tell you that's exactly what happened.
yep.
I slammed one of their products because I just whether or not I didn't like it or it wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. Um, Tell the truth about it and never get another product from that company. That's
No.
Mike. That's one of the things that frustrated me so much. This started happening in the early days of reviewing, right?
Oh,
Reviewing today, first of all, I don't know if there are any real reviews out anymore. Personally, I think they're commercials, especially now with like 3D printers.
yep.
Okay. I watch a lot of reviewers with 3D printers. And these guys, they have to keep that free 3D printer gravy train
They,
rolling, right?
they got to keep
Because
it
a
moving.
3D printer is not a vape. This is a $20, $30 item. Yeah, I could go buy a bunch of them and I could review them out of my pocket. Ain't no way in hell I can go buy, $5,000, $2,000, $3,000 machines
Just
out
to
of my
review
own
them.
pocket and
Nope.
review these. And you know what? To be fair, they can't either, right?
No.
So, some guys I watch and it's like you can tell like especially me, like I can see right through it when they're being truthful or when I can see they're holding back because they want that next free printer from that company, right? Because boy, I said I'm like watching them like, man, I could do a better job. I would have said this, I would have said that. Like, yeah, it's like going. This is one of the problems about being an ex reviewer because now you watch reviews and you see through shit. It's like if I go to a nightclub, all I do is like, that DJ's mix wasn't very good. I don't like the way the lights look. You critique every little thing because you were there, man. You were
Yep.
in that business, so you know something about it, right? But yeah, reviewing went from honest to just a business. It's a business. It became a business.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. I didn't like that. That's another reason why I shied away from the reviews. But anyway, so go ahead.
You
Where were we?
you went from reviewing. When did you start collaborating? And I'll say the name of the company was Inniken. When did you have one before that? Really?
Several.
Oh, dude, tell me because these are things that I don't know. But
Wait.
when did you
When
go
do I get
from
to a point where I could not say that I'm not allowed to talk about that? No,
this might
no,
be one of them?
there
Well,
were several. There were several. Even back then, Dimitri, when are you going to put your name on a product? When are you going to put your name on a product? Now, this goes to integrity, Mike, right?
I've heard him ask you that a couple of
Yeah,
different times,
this
and
is
this is
when
through the years,
yeah,
years
this is
ago.
when every other reviewer they were slapping their names on products.
Uh-huh.
And the reason why I didn't want to do it is because I didn't want anybody to feel it would affect my review integrity. Stupid, dumb, lost millions of dollars. Well, not millions, thousands of dollars, maybe, right? Just lost. Let's say I lost a lot of money
Yeah.
by. So my integrity has cost me a lot of money over the years, a lot of money.
Okay.
So
But
he
I
wanted
will
me.
also be one of the ones to point out
Yeah,
your
well, that I
integrity has placed you head and shoulders above damn near everybody else.
well, I appreciate that, and I know I can sleep with myself at night too. So
There's that.
yeah,
But
I
here's the
appreciate
thing: when somebody says, "Oh, hey, Phil Busardo said," people listen because of your integrity, because you did the job that you did, because you called out all of the bullshit on the
yeah.
product.
Thank you.
When you say this works, people listen
Yeah, they
because
did.
they know.
As a matter of fact, I have it here too. Good Life Vapor, Jeremy. Jeremy, just a quick story. He gives me a call. He's like, "Hey Phil, I'm reviving my e-liquid line, and can I send it to you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Jeremy." I said, "Just know that I'm not doing the reviews. I'm probably not going to talk about it." He's like, "No, no, no." He's like, he goes, "I just want you to have it." He goes, "You've done so much for me, over the course of the years." Because back then I would do e-liquid reviews, and I don't know if you remember, I used to do a street shout out,
Yep.
right? If an e-liquid was really good, I would give it a street shout out, and people would tell me they would have their shopping app running on their phone for their e-liquid company or whatever, and all of a sudden they would hear ching ching ching, and it would start going off, going off, going off, and they were like, what's going on, like why are we selling all of this liquid all of a sudden? And they would come to find out that I just reviewed it. The review just went live and I gave it a street shout out. And like, but back then there were just a few of us that were doing it, right?
Yeah.
And if you were trusted,
Which you
your
were.
your word would lead to a lot of sales, a lot of sales. Now it doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't. Maybe like a little tiny bit, but it's a much different environment, much different world. So I remember Jeremy coming up to me at a show and he shook my hand and he's like, I said, he's like, thank you so much. I go, what are you thanking me for? He goes, I just opened up it was like my second or my third shop. And I said, oh, I said, congratulations. He goes, you bought them for me. I said, what? He said, "Yeah." He goes, "Your review on the liquids." He said, "I sold so much liquid." He said, you were the platform that like gave me that jump that I needed, and just sold a lot of liquid and wound up buying a bunch more shops." So I was like, "Oh, that's cool.
That's
That's cool."
awesome.
Yeah, and
So
I love that. You know what? I love that.
you had some products that you had made previously. The biggest one that I am aware of is Innikin, to where you literally, literally went to China
Yeah, yeah.
to
But
help. Yeah,
before Anakin, because we get like a whole. I don't know how long we're allowed to talk tonight because we have a cutoff, don't we?
that like another hour and 20 minutes or
All right. I ain't gonna go another hour and 12. We'll see. So yeah, the main company that I was working with before Inikin was Kanger. I worked with Kanger for a long time. Okay.
I used to
So
have Kanger tanks.
I was kind of a silent guy. I think it was their super tank. Was it their super tank?
Yeah,
Their big tank.
big. Oh, that was an awesome
What was their
tank.
popular tank? I think it was their super tank. I was the guy behind that tank.
I loved that
Um,
thing. So did my wife. I still have it
yeah,
around somewhere. I did
yeah,
not know you were behind that. I'll
yeah.
be damned.
But Kanger was
Oh, I love my
well,
Kanger tank.
like many Chinese companies where it's like you just you're like, why aren't you listening to the things that I'm telling you? Please listen. No, don't do that. That's a bad idea. And it's very, very frustrating. It was that way with Inikin a lot too. But yeah, no, Kanger was for a long time. Now Kanger, when I was with Kanger, I was still doing the engineering job, right? We didn't do that major pivot yet,
Damn.
right? So the pivot is coming when I left Kanger. Am I going to forget the name of this e-liquid company? Um, is it? Hold on.
Well, he's off screen. It for people that don't know the vaping industry and the vaping world, the Kanger tank that he's mentioned was a phenomenal, phenomenal device. Good airflow, good flavor. It just you couldn't go wrong with it. If you wanted a tank, and I think it held 7 mil or more. It was huge. You just bought a Kanger, and everybody and their mother back then knew that's the one you buy.
Yeah,
So it
I don't know if it was the super tanker or it was another. I'm not remember. Like I said, my memory every day it's a little bit worse. It's really really bad. Um, this is what started it. This is where I went from engineering and I moved into vaping full time. This is the pivot. Okay. Uh, so I told you that I was working with Kanger,
Mhm,
and then I was approached by Molecule Labs. Molecule Labs wanted to do an e-liquid line with me,
mhm.
and it was called B. I actually just ran into this is sealed in plastic. I don't even know how many years this liquid is, right? We were doing tubes back then. This is a tube,
I
like
remember.
toothpaste. And they wanted me to come on with them full time to be like a brand ambassador for Molecule Labs, to give me my own e-liquid company. And I'll never forget, I told Dimitri, I explained to him the whole deal, and he's like, don't do it. He goes, it's the worst decision you'll ever make. Don't do it. And I wanted to do it. So this is where it's one part pivot. Remember how I said it's good turns and a lot of luck too,
Uh-huh.
right? So I wrote my resignation letter to give to my boss, Todd, and I was leaving Northern Telecom, or Volt Delta at that point, and I was going into vaping full time. It was something that I wanted to do. I felt like there was money to be made. It was where my passion was at
Mhm.
that time, and it was noble. It was noble because the reason why I was doing it was to get people off of cigarettes, right?
Yep.
And now we have more data, right? So now we know the 95% number. Now we're starting to get more data. We're starting to get good scientific research. Don't believe the propaganda that you read, please. If you're watching this, do your own research. So I had my resignation letter. My resignation letter was at I don't think I've ever told anybody this story. Was at my desk at Volt Delta. And that day, I walk in and I see a lot of gloomy faces, right? And I'm like, you're kidding me. And they're like, no, another layoff. I said, son of a bitch. I said, I had that feeling. I had that feeling. So I get called into Todd's office, my manager's office, and he's bawling, crying, right? He's like, Phil, he goes, I can't believe I have to do this to you after all these years, after all this time, after everything that you've done for the company. He's like, I got no choice. Crying. This is a man crying, right? He's like, Phil, he goes, you're getting let go. I was like, oh, I said, that's fantastic. He stopped. I jumped around the desk. I grabbed him. I pulled him up from off the seat, and I was consoling him. I'm like, Todd, I said, it's okay. I said, it's okay. I said, my resignation letter is at my desk. I said, I just got severance that I didn't expect to get. Right. So, I mean, talk about just something that was really, really lucky. It was going to be a major pivot. But it was one part of really, really bad luck, but at a perfect time. At a
Yes.
perfect time. Because I wasn't going to get severance. I was going to get nothing.
Yeah.
Right. So I wound up getting like a year and a half of severance, you know? So it was just wonderful. Now the Molecule Lab deal, just like Dimitri said, was horrible.
Really.
They were absolutely terrible to me. Um, didn't follow through with anything. I was on my
Oh,
own for as much marketing as they had. They didn't back the product. It was just not good. It was not good. And that's when Dimitri and we got it. That's when we started getting invited to China to go and tour, because we're like, I was, I don't want to say I was the biggest reviewer, but certainly one of the biggest, vape reviewers at that point.
yep.
And we were getting invited to China. We were getting treated like royalty there. And they were just trying to get their claws into us to have us go and tour their facility. And like, even if we had like this day was for Inikin and this day was for Joytech and this day was for Aspire, the other companies did not care. When they found out that they were there, they were all, when we were there, they were all trying to just get their claws in us and they wanted our time. And it was incredible, you know. And you know, at that point, um, you know, we kind of put it out there that we were looking for a company to work for,
Hmm.
and we were actually approached by several different companies, and we were the ones that made the decision to go with Inikin, because they were just the best fit for us. And I think it was a fantastic decision. It was a decision that far outweighed my expectations. You know, we were with them for a long time. Even though they are a Chinese company, they were very, very good to us, very honest with us, very loyal. It started to go sour, you know, at the end a little bit. A lot of frustration, you know, trying to get them to think our way, and you know,
To get them to understand some of what you wanted them to do. It
so here,
the
yeah,
design work alone had
yeah,
to be incredibly frustrating.
frustrating and challenging, especially when you're in a room full of engineers and not a single one of them speaks a lick of English, right? So, you know, you're trusting what you're doing on the whiteboard and you're trusting in the interpreter. See, the engineers there, they're fantastic engineers. They're very, very talented people. From the people that are putting the guts together to the people that the guys that do the CAD work there. Oh my God. I wish I was a tenth as good as they are.
Really.
They're just phenomenal. Phenomenal. Hold on one second, Mike. I gotta grab this real quick. Yeah.
It's just here again, it's knowing that you went to China and you were working on products and you were these products are worldwide, folks. They're not just sold in a small market somewhere. Like I said, he was walking down the street in France and somebody stops him and says, "I want to say thank you." And they're holding up
Yeah.
his product to him.
Great feeling. Great feeling. Yeah, so it's not like we were slapping our names on, you know, it's not like Inikin was putting something out and they're like, okay, you know, because Phil is a popular reviewer, just go ahead and put his name on it. And
No, you
Dimitri,
were
popular
much,
reviewer.
much more than just an
Yeah,
influencer.
we
You were
were
a
really,
designer.
really hands on. We would go and spend weeks there, you know,
Yeah.
just sitting in a room working with the engineers. And then it's like, you know, after you do that, after they get the initial idea on the design, now they go away. Now you got nothing to do. So you sit in the office and you're like searching the internet, having meetings, doing this, doing that, and the other thing. And like the next day before, and China works like, I mean, this is why let me tell you something. We got some catching up to do, my friends, here in America. Okay.
Their
China's got their
work
shit together. So we are falling behind
their
technology wise.
their work
I've been
ethic
there. I've
is
been there. I know it. I know what they have and what we don't have. Make no mistake. We got some catching up to do. We're in trouble. Okay. I'm being completely honest. All
I
right. So anyway.
believe it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Anyway, and like the next day they come, they have a design, they've got images, they've got renderings, they've got everything. And then, you know, when you get the prototype, obviously it's going to take a while to get the prototype. Um, and what's interesting about the engineers, and this is the story that I always say, they know if I tell them no, that's not 1 millimeter, that needs to be 3 millimeters. They understand the difference between 1 millimeter and 3 millimeters. Very, very easy.
Mhm.
What they don't understand is why it needs to be 3 millimeters and not 1 millimeter, right? They don't understand what does that do to the overall vape experience. Well, how does that improve the airflow? How does that improve the flavor? How does that improve the experience, right?
They're just
That
mechanical.
Get that to them, it was all mechanical, right? So
Yep.
they look for the easier ways out to do it mechanically easier,
Mhm.
but that doesn't necessarily lead to a
Better.
good user experience, right?
Right.
That doesn't lead to better. So that was the challenge. The challenge was to get them to not only understand, you know, the design, the overall technical, you know, the overall technical design, but like why we needed to do it that way.
Mhm.
That was always the biggest challenge. So anyway, that was it. still doing the reviews while that's going on. And then I just started getting invited to all these countries to, do the shows in the countries. France was the first one. Like you mentioned the time that I was in the hospital, but that was like my fifth time in France, right?
Uh-huh.
And again, I
But
am so
you were around. You were in Dubai.
yeah,
Gee,
I'll go through it. Well, Dubai was later on too, but like I'll never forget the first. France was my first international show, and I will never forget the day that I walked into that conference room, because we were doing a lot of the good shows
mhm.
here in the United States before the shows became commercialized. When they were the grassroots shows, that's when they were the good shows.
Yep.
When you would go, every show you would go, you would know everybody, you would know all the vendors would know you, and then all of a sudden, big money started to realize that there's a lot of money to be made here. Like, and the little guys started being pushed out by the big guys, and the days of just the hotel conference rooms with just the folding tables on the outside of the
Yeah.
of the room were the vendors, and then in the center were all the tables, and those were all the people convincing you to crush your packs of cigarettes and you don't need to smoke anymore. And it was about not smoking, not smoking, not smoking, harm reduction through vaping. That's gone.
Yeah.
That's gone. That's gone. That's why I'm gone, really. Um, but So we started getting invited. So I go to the first international show in France, and I walk in, and Mike, I get mobbed, mobbed. All these people coming up to me and wanting to shake my hand and wanting to meet me and wanting
Yep.
to take their pictures with me. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I'm in a different country. Like I'm just regular old Phil Busardo. There's nothing special about me. And but they just saw the guy. They just saw the guy on YouTube and spent so much time with me, looking at me in that little box and hanging out with me and stuff. That they felt like they knew me, and really they do, because the same guy that was in the videos is the same
Sure.
guy in real life. There's like no, there's no difference. There's nothing put on about me or anything. And I was so humbled by that experience. I'm like, well, why does anybody want to take their picture with me? I ain't nothing to look at. That's ridiculous, right? But it was crazy, and I spent at least 2 hours just in that line of people wanting to meet me before I could even get to where I needed to go at that convention. It
I
was
have to
unbelievable.
interject one thing.
Yeah.
To 2017, thereabout, I put my foot and pinky toe into making e-liquid, and I had an e-liquid line. And when I first started, and this is with my son Alex, we did it together. I told him, I don't care what else happens. There are 4 people that I want to be able to know. You, Dimitri, Austin Hopper, and Nick Orlando.
Oh yeah, Nick. Nick's a good guy. Nick does a lot of fighting for this industry, boy. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that, and I said it then, and I had a drive, but over a period of years, I have come to personally know you and Dimitri and Austin Hopper and Nick Orlando. It's funny how things work out.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Now I have a question. When you said to him that you wanted to meet me, Dimitri, Austin, and Nick, did I truly come before Dimitri? I just want to make sure. That's very important to me. Or did Dimitri come before me?
No, you were first on that list.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure.
Because Dimitri's going to watch this, and you're going to tell him, go to this
maybe.
time.
Well,
Go to
maybe he
this
will.
stand.
He's a very busy man these days. He's hustling.
He's
Oh,
crazy busy over there.
oh, you have no idea, Mike. You have no idea. Like, he just got back from China. He just did another China trip. And he's telling me some of the meetings and some of the stuff that he's involved with. I went to see the Monster Labs facility in Orlando, and He's just up to it, his eyeballs in it. But you know what? He eats it up. He loves it. He still loves it. I don't know. I think maybe I burnt the candle on both ends for so long when it was DJing and college, DJing and engineering, reviewing and engineering,
Yep.
and then the reviewing and all the traveling. Because don't forget, we were like every weekend, it was another airport, it was another country. It was,
Yep.
and you know, for as weird as this is going to sound, the first time I got invited to France, to Paris, is like, oh my God, I'm going to Paris. I can't believe I'm going to Paris. I can't believe I'm going to Paris. And it's just like the day I was sitting in the Home Depot parking lot and I said, oh shit, I got a DJ this weekend. I said to
Oh.
myself, shit, I got to go to France again. I got to go to Paris again.
Oh.
Think about that, right? Think about
Oh,
that.
dude,
Where,
that's heartbreaking.
you know, it was just, you know, the magic was gone. And the thing is, it was gone because of the shows were a lot different too, because they just became like big corporate events. Nobody gives a shit about you. Not that I need that, I don't, but it's that warm friendliness. It's just not there. It's just not there.
Yep.
The thing that made vaping doesn't exist anymore.
The
And it's really
community.
sad. It's really sad that it's not there, because if it did, if it existed in its format that it was back then, I
You'd
think it
still
would
be
be
there.
I think it would be a lot more approachable.
Yeah.
And I think it would help a lot more smokers, you know, but now I don't think it's helping smokers as much. And I know I'm gonna get raked over the coals for this. I don't think it's as helping as much smokers as it's creating new nicotine users. So anyway, I'll leave it at
I
that.
would agree.
Yeah.
So, how long or when was your first time that you went to, I don't know how it was pronounced, the Hall
Don't
of
ask me
Vop
dates.
in Germany?
The what? The Hall of the Hall of Vape. Well, we call it the Hall of Vape.
Yeah.
Um, oh, when was the first year? See, you can't ask me dates. Because I'll say 2 years ago, and I'll be like, you couldn't be more. You
Yeah.
couldn't be more wrong. But no, we did. Let's see, we did France, Germany, Italy, Spain. Um,
The UK.
yeah, we did London, Greece,
Mhm.
China, Dubai, and there's one I'm forgetting. Why am I forgetting it? It's where Daniel DJ LSB Vapes is from. Why am I forgetting your? I want to say Ecuador. That's not even close to it. Portugal. Daniel,
Portugal.
I'm so sorry. Um, Portugal, and I'm sure I'm missing something in there. But
I remember
what an
when you went to
experience!
Greece and you got to
What
see
I
the
mean,
Acropolis.
yeah, you know, and again, that's something, Mike. If it wasn't for vaping, I wouldn't have seen any of this.
Mhm.
I don't know if I would have ever seen one of those places, let alone all of those places, you know? And that's something that I'm so appreciative for, that the industry gave me that opportunity to do all that, you know? Um, because like I said, I'm just humble old Phil Busardo. There's nothing special about me. I just really worked really hard at what I did and
Because you
tried to do it really well, you know.
because you
And
did it with a passion and an
I did. And
honesty.
then when that passion isn't there anymore, I don't want to do it. That's like right now. I'm surrounded by all my friends. I got two
And we're
two of my
gonna
friends
we're
making some stuff right now. Oh,
and I
okay,
wanna talk about that as
okay.
well because you finally hit a wall in vaping to where
Well,
you
no,
said,
it wasn't necessarily wall. So what happened in vaping was, number one, um, I wasn't interested in doing the reviews anymore. Right. Just that just I lost passion for. I really did. And like I said, I felt like I wasn't reaching the people that I needed to reach anymore.
"Sure,
Right. And you know, once that was when I'm just talking to the same 1,000 people over and over and over and over again,
yeah,
I ain't helping anybody. Who am I helping?
nope,
Like I'm not bringing new people into vaping who would normally smoke. I'm just helping vapors find their next vape product,
Yep.
right? And to be honest with you, 15 watts is 15 watts. I don't care how you fucking wrap it. Okay. They're all doing the same. I can go back and take the first vape product that I ever reviewed that was regulated. And if it did 15 watts, it will make me just as happy as anything that I'm vaping today. Now I'm a little bit different. My vape style is a little bit different, but I also, the way I started vaping on day one is the way I am vaping right now. So, like all these trends have come and gone. It started with underpowered devices, finicky devices. The devices got a little bit better. The wattages skyrocketed. The clouds went crazy. Then
Yep.
the devices started to get small. And then we weren't mouth to lung anymore. We were all direct lung. And then we were restricted direct lung. And
Yep.
then we went back to mouth to lung. And now everything is a disposable, and all of the flavors have changed because now everything is over sweetened and over flavored and over nicked and over iced and over everything,
I
right? And
stopped.
they're cramming your mouth with so much
I stopped at a vape
flavoring as
store.
opposed to, just the and everything has changed. And a very, very smart man has told me, where he's like, he goes, as vaping has gone through all of these iterations and all of these changes and all of these jives and all of these different things and everything, he goes, what hasn't changed at all? And I said, what's that? He goes, a cigarette. He goes, it's exactly the same as when vaping started as when
Yep.
vaping is here today.
Yep.
So who's vape? And that's really interesting. And I always go back and I always think about that. And he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. So the needs of the smoker today are exactly the same as the needs of the smoker when vaping started.
Yep.
You
20
know,
years ago.
yeah. So, and I do like the fact that it's very easy with a disposable vape. It's a very, very easy thing. I'm not much of a tree hugger, but I do appreciate the fact that they're not good for the environment because it's a lot of e-waste, it's a lot of plastic waste, it's a lot of waste, right?
Yeah.
I have no waste except a little cartridge that I throw away. Um, and I would be okay with it if maybe 10% of the vapes out there felt like they were marketed towards an adult, felt like they weren't like little plasticky pieces of garbage, right? Felt like they had like maybe like a rich tobacco line that had that throat hit that you get from a cigarette. If I could find that, right, I'd be like, okay, now I see it, but I don't see it, Mike. I don't
Yeah.
see it. I don't see it anywhere. I go to the show and I see 100,000 of these things, and almost nothing looks like
No,
something that I would kind of want to use. It looks like it's all marketed to kids, right?
it is. And
Um,
and all of this, even the people that are working in vape shops now are nowhere near as knowledgeable as they used to
now
be.
because the vape shops, a lot of them have transitioned into head shops and they've gone into different markets.
Yeah.
And we were so anti that at first. And now it's like I get it. I mean, they have to survive,
Yep.
but it's not a good thing, because if somebody if a mature adult is looking to find information about a vape, right? And there's very few shops where you could go in and not feel intimidated, not feel uncomfortable,
Yeah.
not feel like this is not for me, not feel like, what is that behind the counter,
Dude, I
and
walked in. I shit you not. I walked in and I said, I use e-liquid. It's 6 milligram. And because that's about the highest that people will carry in Ohio because of taxation and all this other garbage. And I said, and I know that, those things down there, the disposables are a lot more. And the guy's like, oh no, these are only 5 milligram. Dude, get your head out of your ass. I looked at him. I said, can you do the math on that for me? I said, if you look at the box, doesn't it say it's a 5%? He goes, yeah, that's 5 milligrams. I said, dude, stop. Just stop. Now, my wife is standing right next to me laughing because she knows what's coming. I said, if we do the math on this alone, that is a 50 milligram nicotine product.
Yeah.
How do you figure? So I went through the math. I never knew that. Oh my God. And you're selling these to the public? Really?
They're not educated. That's one thing I'll say about that's something that the THC industry has had over us since day one. The people that work in the shops, especially like the good shops, they're very very well educated
Oh, yeah,
on
they
their
are.
craft.
Oh,
Very well
yeah.
educated on their craft. Um, but yeah, when I started vaping, I was 18 milligram because I needed the throat hit. Quickly went down to 12 milligram and have been 12 milligram since July 7th, 2009.
Wow.
Same way. I have vaped mouth to lung since that date.
I know you
I have
have.
vaped, what?
I know that you have because
Yeah.
I've watched you and your mouthpiece is mouth to lung, and I've switched back and forth between restricted direct lung, which the Chroma Z does, and it does it so well. To disposables here or there that are just mouth to lung, but it's amazing having been on both sides of this industry for me just to look at the evolution of how things are. But to listen to you explain some of this makes me sit here and go, damn, I don't know anything.
No, it's not true. It's not true. I mean, don't forget, like I have been in the thick of it from day one. I mean, really, like I said, there were definitely a few guys that came before me, and I give them all the credit of the world. That's why, you know, I hate the young bucks that come up and they don't give any credit or any respect to who came before them. I do that. I do that for DJs. I do that for reviewers.
Yep.
They deserve my respect. They paved the way to allow me to do what I did.
I know the
Um,
feeling. It's just like I'm working on different formats, doing different things, and doing different shows. And at
yeah,
one point, um, even Rod Cochran had given me a spot on his online radio
Rowdy Rod,
station, the Rod Man.
Rodman.
And it was amazing to work in that environment, even for just a short period of time. I learned so much, you know. But you went now, you say you didn't hit a brick wall, but it just
So yeah, so
where did
eventually,
that transition happen?
okay. To which, like, just to not vaping anymore.
To leaving the vaping scene, and
Yeah. So two
and it's
things
what I
really
want to
happened.
talk about is what's
Yeah.
behind you, what you've got running on
Oh,
dedicated circuits now.
yeah. And freezing my house out. We could talk about
Uh-huh.
that too. Um, so yeah, the reviews got tiring for me. I didn't think I was, reaching. And the other thing with the reviews is they became very, very difficult to do because I was working with Inikin at that point, right? And it was known that we were working with Inikin.
Mm-hmm.
So this wasn't something that it wasn't like Kanger, nobody knew it, right?
Yeah.
But with Inikin, it was out there in the open. We had our names on products.
Yes, you
So of
did.
course other companies see that. They don't want to send you products to review anymore, right?
Yeah.
And all the travel. With reviewing, it's content, 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 got to put out content, got to put out the review, got to do, right? Um, but when you're traveling like that, it's very difficult. Dimitri's like, oh, we'll record the review in the middle of the night and just set it so that it auto releases and everything. Fuck that. I don't want to do that.
Nope.
That's not me. And then the other thing with the reviews, it started to be like Chinese companies telling me, you release review on Saturday at 3 o'clock. Go fuck yourself. I'm going to release the review when I want to release the review, not when you want me to release the review. Oh, you want to see the video first? Oh, no, 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 no.
It
So
doesn't
when
work that
all of
way.
this started happening, right? And I knew that if they're doing it with me, they're doing it with the other reviewers, and the other reviewers are happily taking that
Yep.
and just continuing to do the thing. That's a real turnoff for me, Mike. That no, you don't tell me how
Yeah.
how I do things.
You're
You
sending
don't
me
you don't
something.
dictate. You don't dictate when I release. You don't dictate what I'm going to say.
No.
No, and that's when it became more of like a commercial, and reviewing became more of a business. And I didn't want. And like I said, we were making products. And the travel. There was just so much travel that I didn't have time to do it anymore.
Yep.
Right. So we had a 3-year contract with Anakin that they were very good with. We created a whole bunch of tanks. I know they're blurry, but right here is a line of tanks. So those are all the tanks that we put out right there.
Yep.
Um,
The
and
Aries line.
we were really successful with them. We were super successful with the Z coil,
Yeah.
and thank God I am cheap. Thank God I am cheap because I saved every dime. I saw a lot of people in the review industry just spend it on houses and spend it on expensive cars and spend it on clothing and spend it on jewelry and spend it on crazy stuff. And that's not me. Dimitri had a certain term for me that I ain't going to use because it might offend a portion of the audience, but let's just say he called me cheap.
Yes.
Right. And it's a good thing I was cheap, right? Because I banked everything that when the Anakin contract ran out, they renewed, and then we really didn't even have a contract. But then all of a sudden they wanted to negotiate terms, and
Oh.
that's when things went a little bit upside down, a little bit sour. They listened to us, less and less, but they were good until the end. They really were. I'll give them that. They were good until the end. Um, and it was a great relationship while it lasted. But then all of a sudden, it's not there anymore. So now you got somebody who's coming off of that who ain't the number one reviewer anymore, right? So yeah, I can hump and I can hustle and I could get behind the mic and I could turn on this camera because apparently it still works. The microphone still works, the equipment still works. I told Mike a funny story. I said, I don't think this equipment has been on for like 2 years, and I turned it on and dust came flying out of the computer, and it took like 3 hours to update Windows, and everything needed to be updated, and I had to wipe the dust off the camera lenses. It's kind of funny, but
Okay, now hold on.
um,
How long ago was it, the last show that you did with Dimitri and he was sitting in your office?
oh well, that was the reunion thing. That
Yeah.
was
A year ago?
more than a year.
Has it been that
More than a
long
year. I could
already?
look it up real quick.
Oh my
I could
God.
I could find out when that was.
You were just
As I
talking about how time goes by that you think that it might be 6 months and it was 2 years ago. And
it might be a long time ago. Let's see. Do I remember how
oh
to get to
wow.
YouTube? I do. Do I remember what my account was? I still have like over 100,000 subscribers, which is pretty impressive. Oh, it's making me log in here. Oh, wait a second. Maybe not. You gonna let me in? Let's see.
I would go and look it up on my
Uh
PC, but I know the minute that I do, I'm going to screw something up. So
no. Well, now I gotta do now I gotta go do to uh two-step verification. Yeah, okay. Where is it? It's not on here. All right. Well, anyway, I'll try to find it as we talk here. On my other computer, I'm logged in on the other computer. I'm just not logged in here right now.
so
Huh.
you worked your way, and to me, on the public facing side of things, it seemed like it was a light switch moment. You were there
No, I'm not.
and then you're not there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell happened?
Yeah. 117,000 subscribers. I still, do you know people would give their left testicle to have 117,000
Yeah,
subscribers,
I know.
and I'm sitting on it and not doing anything with it? That's insane.
It
That's
took me a
insane.
year just to build 1,000 on the one channel that I was doing.
All
So
right. Let's see.
you transitioned again, another pivot point. This time from vaping to doing what you're doing now. Would that be a correct assessment?
Be it pretty much. So I'm finding the last video out here is the Aries, but no, we did the live. You know what? The live was probably pulled because we had some music in it. Everything gets pulled. Every time I look, there's another video that's getting pulled because YouTube found something else
Jeez.
to pull on me. Let's see, date. Last video that I published was an Aries finale, and that was 2024. But I know Dimitri and I did something before that.
Yeah. not long ago. It might have
Yeah.
been a year and a half by now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Got to be.
you went from doing vaping
Mm-hmm.
and then you were gone. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh.
Yeah.
And you still did the DP show for a little while,
Yeah. We did that,
you know?
and still did traveling. And really the traveling kind of came to an end when the contract ran out.
Yeah.
And that was it. At that point, really, that was kind of it. I was like, there was nothing for vaping other than the fact that I vape, still buy vape, still make my own e-liquid. So, I'm definitely a vapor. And there are so many times where I thought of, just turning on the camera going, "Hey folks, P Busardo, been a minute, here I am." Um,
For anybody that is listening, you recognize if you closed your eyes and replayed that. Hey, folks, P. Busardo here. Now, it's ironic back when, again, you go back a few years, and it's how I got started into doing videos and things like that was Bill Tarling had said, hey, I know a guy, Dimitri, and he runs this and he might have a slot open. So I did a show, Vaping in the Mic, and I didn't know Phil really well at that point. And I said, would you consider doing a voiceover for me? And honest to God, he
yeah.
did. And I had more people comment because you said, hey, folks, Pete Busardo here. You're listening to Vaping in the Mic on the Smoke Free Radio Network. I had more people comment on that than I
Come
could
on.
ever tell you. I shit you not. It's still out there. Vaping in the Mic, they've never pulled the Vaping in the Mic channel. It's still out there. And
That's funny.
it's
And I didn't
still
charge you a
there.
dime for that either. I did that like totally right. Very nice of me, right? Yeah. Yeah.
But it's still out there. And the reason that I never got yanked is because I never openly discussed anything, no websites, no product review thing, piece. So my channel is still out there in the ether, believe it or not. But anyhow, you went from that and now, and this just blew my mind. Your engineering parts come back because now you're doing 3D printing.
Yeah, but you could consider it now a side hustle, right? So let's it is, that's really what it is. So I would consider myself semi-retired at this point.
One of the things that amazed me was when I saw you print Bob and Vincent from Disney's The Black Hole.
Oh, I didn't do Bob, I did Vincent.
Right. But it's
Although
just,
I could very easily make a Bob. All I got to do is run one of the Vincents over with my car, and then you get Bob. Let me tell you something. Vincent is one of my favorites. One of my favorites.
it's just,
But
it was amazing looking because you kind of sent me a couple pictures and it was just a pile of parts. I'm like, oh my God. And those things came out phenomenally well.
they did. They can't. I'm so proud of that one. It's the decals. Oh my god, the decals, Mike. There's
I
like
remember you saying that.
one, two, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 little
Oh,
teeny tiny decal because I wanted to make it as accurate as possible, right?
oh,
So I
it
I
was
created all
phenomenal.
the I created all the decals myself, and then I was doing the water slide decals, you get them wet and then you slide the decal onto the
Yep.
model. I was doing it that way, and like they would look perfect. And I'd go back the next day, and they all fell. Like, oh, that's not going to work. So then I found this chemical that you brush over every decal, and it melts the decal into the plastic a little bit so it stays.
Oh, wow.
But doing the water slide for every one of those and brushing them, it got to be too much. So I found vinyl stickers that stick really good, and then I hit them with a clear coat real quick so it keeps the decals
Yep.
on they discolor a little bit, but fucking good enough. And I
What
was making a bunch of those. Um
what is the latest item? Because I saw you were making the boxes for them and everything. It
oh
was a
yeah.
Star Trek.
Yeah, that I'm proud of that one. Let me go. Can I go get one for you?
Sure.
All right, let me go get one for you. I got one here, but it's only half built. So, as you may or may not know, I am a sci-fi nerd.
No,
I'm a total sci-fi geek, right?
yep.
Star Trek and Star Wars, but Star Trek more than Star Wars. And there's a company called Tomy Plus, and Tomy Plus releases these massive die-cast models of Star Trek ships. So the first one they released was the what I call the TOS, the original series Enterprise. Then they released the what they call the refit Enterprise. So the refit Enterprise was the Enterprise seen in Star Trek the Motion Picture, the first Star Trek movie,
Right.
Star Trek The Wrath of Khan, and then Star Trek The Search for Spock, where it got destroyed
Yep.
and replaced by the Enterprise A, which was actually just another ship that they slapped Enterprise and A on it. Now, that Enterprise, the refit Enterprise, and the A, that design has always been my favorite Star Trek ship.
Huh.
Will always be. I don't care what, everybody's got their own favorite. That is mine, right? And Tomy released the refit Enterprise. So, like, it was very expensive and I didn't care. I had to have one. So I got myself one. And I've always wanted that Enterprise, the fully lit model, because I would go and I would watch YouTube videos of super, super talented model builders. They used to get that I think it's 1/350th scale. And they would light them, do all the internal lighting with all the little fiber optics and everything. And I always wanted one. And I know I just don't have the skill level to do something like that myself. And the painting and the Aztecing that they do on it, it's just incredible work. So when Tomy, and the Tomy is good. It's not like those detail models, but it's good enough for me. Whenever I watched those videos or when I fell in love with the ship, there was a song that was playing in the Star Trek the Motion Picture where Scotty's got Kirk on that little shuttle pod and he flies by the ship for the first time.
Yeah.
Most people will call that an incredibly boring scene. I call that geek porn. Okay.
Yep, it is.
That's when I fell in love with that ship. And the song that was playing was called The Enterprise by Jerry Goldsmith.
Yes.
So I knew when I'm looking at my Tomy Enterprise on the shelf, right, I knew that I wanted to hear that song play every time I looked at her when she was all lit up. So I came up with this little sound box, right? So it's got some information about the ship on this little plaque here. It's got the insignia, and I installed a little sound card that I put the Enterprise on. It's got a little button here. You can press the button and it winds up playing her song. So
wow.
Let's see. I don't know. Can you hear that?
No.
You can't hear that?
No.
So it plays her song. So I was like, oh my God, I'm proud of this, and I wanted to show people, right? Because so I went on the Tomy Facebook page because everybody shares their experiences about the ship, and I'm watching because a lot of their ships are coming in damaged, and I was like, oh my God, what kind of a nightmare is this going to be? But I posted a picture of the music box. I said I'm getting ready for my ship to come in, and I made this little music box so I could hear her song. All of a sudden, I get like, well, that's really cool. You made that? It's like, yeah. Well, would you make another one? I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll make you one. And before you know it, I'm getting all these requests to make these little sound boxes. And I couldn't make them fast enough. My whole house became a production
I saw a
area
picture
to make
where
these
it's
little
just
sound boxes.
rows and rows of these
Rows and
things.
rows and rows. I wish I had some photos. Maybe you could put some photos up if you have the photos.
Oh, I'll get the photos from you and I'll work them in and show people. It was unbelievable. And it's
Yeah,
what
crazy.
made me think so much about pivot points because here's the engineer now, after all these other career points coming back out, and you're seeing this engineer working with a 3D printer to create something like this. It was just amazing.
It's fun. If it, I love these things. I do. I love 3D printing. I love it so much more now than back then when you had to tinker to get them to work. Now they're more like tools, right?
Yep.
But anybody who buys one and thinks that, oh, it's just I'm just going to make stuff all day long and it's never going to break down. No, wrong, wrong. There's definitely tinkering involved. You are going to come to a point where you're going to have to tear one of these things down,
Yep.
and replace parts. That's just the normal part of the game, but it's so much better now. And I wished the day I sat down at Inikin, and what's the software they were using? Rhino. I think it was Rhino CAD. The day that I said, I'm going to teach myself that is the day that I should have actually done it. I should have actually done it. I should have taught myself CAD, and I would have been proficient enough at it at this point if I had started back then. Because now with CAD, I'm like, semi dangerous, but I can't do the things that I really, really, really want to do. I'm seriously, I know there's a lot of online courses that I could take, but like I know me and I know I get sidetracked all the time.
Yep.
And I know like the least little thing, I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna go there. Like, like a fly to a light, right? I might actually like look locally and see if there's some CAD courses. I want to learn Fusion 360.
That's a big
But
one.
it's a big one, and CAD is, it's one of those things where even if you've been doing it for 5 years, on 5 years in a day, you're better at it than you were at the 5 year mark. You know what I mean?
Yep. It just
So it's like one
increases.
of those things that really takes a long time, and something that you have to be doing your entire life to be like really, really good at it. And that's where I wish I was. I wish I was really, really good. That guy who came back the next day and had a beautiful, fully CAD designed, rendered in different metallic coatings and everything. In like he did this in a couple hours, right? I want to be that good. I know that's never going to happen, but
No,
I
don't say
one can
never.
dream.
Don't say
One, yeah.
never.
I don't know. I'm an old dog. It's hard to teach old dogs. I can't even remember a name that you tell me like 5 minutes ago. But well, I've always been that way. Dimitri will tell you that. And Dimitri, I was busting balls about Dimitri before, but he's somebody who's gone with me for this ride pretty much since day one. Of course, in the earlier days, he really did, ride my coattails. I did kind of take him along with me, but it's good that we did meet each other because he's always been the yin to my yang.
Yeah.
I've
He
been
has.
I've been the tech to his business. He's been the business to my tech. And we've done really, really good together. I met him online. We started chatting a little bit. We had a lot of the same lights, the same interests, the same personality, the same sense of humor. We both got really, really sick heads. Um, and we
You
we
guys
hit
are
it off.
so funny though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
I
really good
watch your
together.
shows and listen, and you would record things when you were out and driving in a Yaris and being scared shitless because of his driving, and it made me laugh, and
Yeah, but
whoever watched them.
none of it was made up, Mother Mike. You know what I
No,
mean? None of it was made
everything
up.
was
Everything was real. You
unscripted,
know,
candid.
yeah.
Turn it on, record this. Oh my god, it's just funny.
Like we're driving in the Jeep. I get a flat tire in the Jeep. Does he even lift a finger to help me to change the flat? No. He laughed the entire time and he just videotaped it and took photos of, selfies of him smiling where I'm down on my knees changing the tire. This has been, it's not even a shtick. It's just us being us. You know what I
It's just
mean?
the two of you.
And yeah, it's just the two of us.
I had
But
that same song going through my mind. Oh shit. Just the two of
he's
us.
he's lifted me up when I've needed because I've gone through a whole lot of shit. I've tried to lift him up when he's a lot more like what he keeps everything inside. He's not a sharer,
No,
whereas I just wear everything on my sleeve.
he's
Um, you know,
internalized.
Yeah, yeah. But man, I couldn't have done it without him, and I hope I hope he feels the same way about me.
I'm
But
sure that
no,
he
I'll
does.
say that. I'll say that. What's that?
I'm sure he does feel the same way
Yeah,
about
no,
you.
maybe I don't know, maybe. But no, I couldn't have done it without him. He's a good friend. He continues to be a good friend. The bromance continues. He's right in Orlando now. He's 3 hours away. But how long that's gonna last, I don't know.
Better
What his
than better than
next
being in
career
Greece.
choice is. What's that? Oh yeah, yeah, definitely a lot closer to than Greece. But he's happiest when he's there. He's
Yeah.
happiest when he's there. He needs to be back there. He needs to. He needs to be home. He loves it in Greece, and I can see why. I mean, the country is beautiful. It's a completely different lifestyle. Um, it's a better lifestyle. It's a cleaner lifestyle. Like everything, the food, everything. It's really nice. Yeah, but then there's a lot of things in the United States that we have, that they don't have. When he goes back, I always make fun of him. Like, he's like, I was doing this on my computer. I'm like, your computer? I'm like, you guys have electricity in Greece? I didn't know that. So, yeah, but the ball busting is nonstop, continuous, always, and will
And
never end.
live, real. Well, Phil, I tell you what, I really appreciate you taking the time this evening. I
Didn't you say
really
an
do.
hour? I think that's what you said. This will only be an hour. But Mike, you know me by now. Once I start talking, there ain't no shutting me up.
It's been about 2.
Hopefully, hopefully, I am one of your easier interviews where it's not
Oh,
like you're trying to drag stuff out of me.
nope. It's
No,
just
that
it's this is an interview. I get to sit down and have a conversation with you, and
yeah, we're
it's
just hanging
been
out.
awesome. Just
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, you've always been really, really good to me too, Mike, and I consider you a good friend.
I
You've shown
appreciate
me
that.
respect through the years, and I got nothing bad to say about you. And I know you've done your little podcasts, and I always wish the best for you. And I
I
still say your voice is much better than mine. I'm very jealous of your voice because we were talking about this
We
before we
started
started
the
talking.
hour before I even hit record,
Yeah,
and
yeah, and we were talking
it
about our
just
different voices. And see, like, here's the difference between my voice and Mike's voice. I have a good voice, but I have to turn it on. Like, if I'm going to turn on the DJ voice, it's a different voice. It comes from a different place. There's like DJ Miami in the mix, and then there's like DJ Miami in the mix. It's a completely different voice, right? But Mike's voice is there all the time. It's like I want Mike to tell me stories to make me go to sleep. He's just got that deep, deep, soothing radio voice, and it's always on. And like when you said you were going into voice modeling and voice talent, I'm like, oh man, you're going to be doing books on tape like that.
I
You know,
came within a hair of doing audiobooks,
it's so hard.
and
Yeah,
I could get into that, but I haven't set up. I had a booth. Oh my God, I had a 6 foot by 6 foot booth, and it was phenomenal. I actually recorded my commercial demo using my booth
yeah,
and an Austrian Audio OC18.
cool.
And it turned out so well. I couldn't break into the commercial side. So I tore the booth down because I needed the space. And yeah, I'll probably get into doing audiobooks before too long.
Yeah, absolutely. You absolutely should. You got the chops for it. That's for sure.
Uh,
That's for sure. Some
just
people just, some
here's
people they just have that voice. They open their mouth and it just sounds like angels, man. And you're definitely one of them.
Well, you've got to admit the SM7B microphone is
Nah,
like it adds melted butter to anything. I
nah.
don't care.
Sorry, you can't. You cannot polish a turd. You can't. You can't.
I appreciate that.
You got it. You
All
got it.
right,
Well,
sir.
it was fun, man. Hey, if nothing more, all my computer equipment is updated now.
There you go.
See? So like tomorrow I'm gonna look at this. I'm like, you should go live. You should do something. Turn the mic on, go, hey folks, Phil Busardo, and
You
then end the
should.
video with thanks for watching and I'll see you again soon. But who knows? Who knows? I don't know what's next for me, Mike. I don't know. I
Well,
don't know.
I'll
I
look
never know.
forward to it. Just like everybody
Yeah.
else, I'll look forward to it.
Hope so. Hope so. But for those people who are watching, especially for the vapors that are watching, um, don't ever think that my absence has it means that I don't believe in the product anymore, because that couldn't be further from the truth.
Mm.
Absolutely believe in the product. You see me. I even asked Mike, I'm like, do I vape during this show? I'm like, I've never done a show where I don't vape before. So I'm sure you've seen some vape come out.
Yep.
And if that does offend anybody, I do apologize for that. That's just me being me.
It's me being
but
me.
it
I'll
is
sit
still,
here and vape.
yeah, it is still absolutely a product that I believe in. It is absolutely tobacco harm reduction. So if you have, I always say, if you're not doing anything, continue to do nothing. If you are smoking, try quitting cold turkey. If that doesn't work, try all of the approved cessation devices. If that doesn't work, try vaping, because there's harm reduction. It's not perfect. That's why we say harm reduction,
Yep.
not harm elimination, right? Best
Harm
thing to do is
reduction.
nothing, right? Best thing to do is do nothing. But when nothing else works for you, because nothing else worked for me, this certainly did. And since July 7th, 2009, I haven't had a single adverse reaction to it, a single health concern due to it. If anything, I never get what do you call it? Upper respiratory
Bronchitis.
tract
Yeah.
infections. Yeah, which I used to get all the time, and now not folks, not a single one since I gave up smoking, which is pretty impressive. Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
All right,
All right, my
Joe.
man.
Thank you. I
My
seriously
pleasure.
appreciate it.
My pleasure.
We'll catch up again.
Yeah.
I know we will.
Oh yeah, yeah. I gotta talk to all my friends now. You stopped working. I got to get working again. You're still working. Okay, I gotta go yell at these guys.
There you go.
All right, my
right,
friend.
Phil.
Thank you very much. I hope the people who were watching enjoyed it, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks.
Have a great night.
You too.